What if the quest for equality was not just a fight, but a revolution that shook the foundations of a society? As we delve into the annals of history, we land in the socio-political landscape of India during the early 20th century, a time marked by colonial rule, diverse cultures, and unfortunately, deep-seated social divisions. Among these divisions, the depressed classes found themselves at the bottom of the social hierarchy, marginalized and ostracized. This term, depressed classes, is not just a label, but a reflection of the grim reality of a section of society. It represented those who were deprived of basic human rights, those who were subjected to inhumane treatment, and those who were considered untouchables by virtue of their birth. But every dark cloud has a silver lining, and for the depressed classes, this came in the form of a beacon of hope, Dr. Bhimrao Ramji Ambedkar. Born into a Dalit family, Dr. Ambedkar experienced the harsh realities of caste discrimination from a very early age, and it was these experiences that ignited in him a burning desire to fight against this social evil. But the fight against inequality is never easy. It's a long and arduous journey fraught with challenges. And for Dr. Ambedkar, it was no different. His early life was a constant battle against prejudice and discrimination. From being segregated in school to facing humiliation in public spaces, he witnessed the worst side of casteism. But these experiences did not break him. Instead, they steeled his resolve. He realized that the key to breaking the chains of caste discrimination was through knowledge and education. And so, he embarked on his quest for equality, armed with the power of education. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and for Dr. Ambedkar, it was his conviction to fight inequality. This was the beginning of a revolution that would not just challenge the social norms, but would also pave the way for a more egalitarian society. But this was just the beginning. The quest was far from over. Change often begins as a whisper, gradually growing into a roar. So it was with the depressed classes movement. In the early 20th century, a whisper of discontent began to stir among the oppressed and marginalized sections of Indian society. This whisper transformed into the depressed classes movement, a movement that sought to challenge the traditional social order and fight for equality. The depressed classes movement was not a spontaneous outburst, but a calculated response to centuries of social and economic exclusion. It was led by visionaries from the oppressed classes themselves, with Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, a scholar and social reformer, at the forefront. One of the significant milestones of the movement was the Mahad Satyagraha in 1927. It was a peaceful protest led by Dr. Ambedkar where thousands of Dalits, the so-called untouchables, gathered to drink water from the public Chavda lake, challenging the deep-rooted caste prejudices. This act of defiance was more than a symbolic gesture. It was a statement that the oppressed classes would no longer accept their marginalization. 3 years later, the depressed classes movement found its voice again in the Kalaram Temple movement. Thousands of Dalits marched towards the Kalaram Temple in Nashik, a place traditionally forbidden to them. Despite facing violent opposition, the protesters stood their ground, demanding their rightful place in society. These movements were not isolated incidents. They were part of a broader struggle for social justice and equality. They were the roar of the oppressed, demanding to be heard. They were a call to end the centuries-old caste discrimination and to create a society where all individuals are treated with dignity and respect. Each of these events were not just protests, but defining moments in the history of India's fight for equality. A movement is only as strong as its leaders, and the depressed classes movement had a leader like none other in Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Born into a society that viewed him as lesser, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar rose to become the voice of the oppressed and the marginalized. A brilliant scholar, he studied in the United States and the United Kingdom, where he was exposed to ideas of equality, liberty, and fraternity. It was these ideals that he brought back to India, becoming a beacon of hope for millions. Dr. Ambedkar's role in the depressed classes movement was not just as a leader, but as an advocate, a reformer, and a visionary. He championed the rights of those who had been sidelined by society for centuries. He fought tirelessly for their social, political, and economic rights, challenging the deep-rooted norms of the caste system. One of his most significant contributions was his advocacy for the reservation of seats for the depressed classes in educational institutions and public services. He believed that education was the key to emancipation and empowerment. This belief led him to establish the People's Education Society, with the aim of providing quality education to the marginalized. Ambedkar didn't just stop at education. He pushed for political representation, arguing that without a voice in the corridors of power, the depressed classes would remain at the mercy of the upper castes. His efforts led to the Pune Pact of 1932, which ensured reserved seats for the depressed classes in the central legislature. His relentless pursuit of equality didn't end there. As the principal architect of the Indian Constitution, he ensured that it enshrined the principles of justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity. He made sure that the Constitution provided for the protection and promotion of the rights of the depressed classes, a testament to his vision of an inclusive and equitable India. In the face of adversity, Ambedkar stood as a beacon of hope for millions. His life and his work continue to inspire countless individuals, reminding us all that the fight for equality is a constant struggle, but one that is worth every effort. The echoes of a revolution often resonate long after the initial cry, such is the legacy of the depressed classes movement. The impact and legacy of this movement are immense, stretching far beyond the realms of the immediate struggle. The depressed classes movement didn't just challenge the status quo, it fundamentally altered the course of Indian society and politics. Let's talk about the Indian Constitution, a cornerstone of Indian democracy and a testament to the movement's influence. Dr. Ambedkar, the torchbearer of the movement, played a pivotal role in its drafting. The Constitution, imbued with his ideals, encapsulates the spirit of equality and justice, ensuring that no citizen, irrespective of their caste or class, is subject to discrimination. The Constitution also enshrines the provision for affirmative action, a legacy of Ambedkar's vision. This provision has played a crucial role in correcting historical injustices and creating a more equitable society. It has ensured representation and opportunities for the historically marginalized, fostering a sense of inclusion and empowerment. Ambedkar's contribution to the Constitution and his legacy doesn't end there. His work has inspired generations of scholars, activists, and leaders. His ideas continue to guide social and political discourse, shaping our understanding of justice, freedom, and equality. Ambedkar has become a symbol of resistance against oppression and a beacon of hope for millions. His enduring legacy is evident in modern Indian society. We see it in the relentless pursuit of social justice and equality, in the voices that continue to challenge discrimination, and in the movements that demand justice for the oppressed. We see it in the spirit of the Indian Constitution, which continues to uphold the ideals of the movement. The depressed classes movement, led by Dr. Ambedkar, did more than just challenge an unjust social order. It sparked a revolution. It changed mindsets, it shattered barriers, it gave birth to a new India, an India striving for equality and justice, an India that refuses to be chained by the shackles of caste and class. The depressed classes movement, led by Dr. Ambedkar, changed the course of history, leaving an indelible mark on India's quest for equality. But what does this journey, this quest for equality, mean to us today? This thought takes us to the heart of a narrative that is as relevant now as it was during the time of Dr. Ambedkar and the depressed classes movement. The echo of their struggle, their resilience, Their fight against discrimination continues to reverberate in our contemporary society. The importance of remembering this movement, remembering Dr. Ambedkar's tireless quest for equality, is immense. It's not just about looking back at history. It's about understanding that history, appreciating the struggles and sacrifices that were made, and using that knowledge to shape our present and our future. This movement, this quest, serves as a poignant reminder of a fight that is far from over. Every day, we see instances of discrimination and inequality around us. We see barriers that still need to be broken, prejudices that still need to be challenged. And in these moments, we remember Dr. Ambedkar and the depressed classes movement. We remember their courage, their determination, their unwavering belief in the power of unity. So why do we remember? We remember because it gives us perspective. It reminds us of the power of a single voice, a single vision to bring about monumental change. It reminds us that the fight against discrimination is not a battle to be won overnight, but a continuous struggle that demands our constant attention, our unwavering commitment. The story of Dr. Ambedkar and the depressed classes movement teaches us about the strength of conviction. It teaches us about the indomitable spirit of those who refuse to accept the status quo, who dare to challenge the established norms, who dare to dream of a world where equality is not just a concept, but a lived reality. As we remember Dr. Ambedkar and the depressed classes movement, we are reminded of the power of unity, the strength of conviction, and the enduring quest for equality. It's a reflection that inspires us, that challenges us, and above all, that drives us to carry forward this quest for equality.